Good morning. This video is about the 11th grade spring testing that we will be having in 2017. Up here I have a schedule. We have two tests that you'll actually be taking this spring. One is the MCA math test, which is required by federal government, and the second one is the ACT or ASVAB on that April 19th test day that you chose. And going through the schedule real quick, today you can see that we're going to be doing this intro video, and I'll show you some resources that are available to you that you can take a look at. Then we have a couple of extended SSRs. March 6th here, we're going to be doing some videos on test taking strategies. Because that ACT and ASVAB is a time test, we're going to show you a few tips, tricks you might say. And there's some videos out there and there's plenty on YouTube that you can take a look at. But you get a better feel of what you have to do in order to do well on some of those tests. Then we're going to switch gears on March 9th. It's a Thursday actually. We're going to watch the Pearson testing video. And that shows you how to take the test. Now this is the MCA one. So like I said, we're doing two different tests. We're kind of running things simultaneously. On March 13th is the MCA math test day. So that's the morning that we're actually going to sit down and test the math test for the state of Minnesota, the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments. And that will take us probably through SSR. Some of you might go into second block a little bit, but the 10th graders will be gone on tours, and the 9th and 12th graders will have a normal day, or somewhat normal, because their classes will probably be a little bit smaller with the juniors and sophomores out. Then, starting in April, after we come back from spring break, that's when we're really going to hit hard the test prep. And that test prep is for that ACT/ASVAB test. And that's where we're going to work on the timing. So each day when you walk in, for example, the math one, you're going to be given a set of questions. You're going to be told how much time you have, and they're going to say go, and you're going to kind of simulate the stress of having the ACT or ASVAB test, because it's a fast-paced test. There's a time limit, and you have to answer all the questions before the time limit's up. So I'm going to show you some resources that you can use before that, but you're going to get a feel for that those three Mondays during the extended SSR. You're going to walk in, you're going to start taking a test right away, and then there's some resources that you can check your answers afterwards. And then the big day, April 19th test day, you'll come in the morning, we'll test the ASVAB, the ACT. About 12 to 12:30, you'll be released. You can eat lunch, and then you can walk out for the rest of the day and go home and kind of rest that brain a little bit. So there's the schedule. You can take a look at that. Let's go to some of the resources that we have. So the biggest resource is, of course, the ACT testing site. If you're looking at ever taking the ACT again after April, you're probably going to have to spend some time on here anyway. But one of the sections that I think is helpful is going to the test prep site. So if you go to ACT, you actually go to ACT testing for students and then test preparation. You can see there's a few things up here that you can use. But if you scroll down, there's quite a few things on this one page. You can pay money for online prep. So we're doing a few things to show you a little bit about the test, but there's much more you can do. Some schools actually provide a Saturday where you go in for 3-4 hours and do test prep, or maybe a few nights a week. You might want to look at some other surrounding cities if you want to do that. Otherwise, you can do some online test prep, do it yourself at your own pace. There's also some guides that you can order. I believe also we have some ACT guides in our counselor's office that you can check out, and they're paper. But if you want more information, or if you want to take a look at bettering your score for maybe a scholarship, that's an option for you. Sample test questions. This is where you can go ahead and take a look at English, math, reading, science, and also the writing. We will be doing the writing prompt during that April 19th test date. I'm going to go back up and show that in a second, but I just want to keep scrolling down. There's some really good test taking tips because it's a time test. It's a little bit different, and if you go to YouTube, there's plenty of videos out there that you can take a look at. But general test tips, multiple choice, calculator, and of course the writing. And if you scroll down, question of the day. You can get question emailed to you. I don't know if it can be text. You'll have to do that with the profile and log in. But I believe it is an email for sure. And you can get a test question a day. So you can try something every day to kind of keep your mind fresh. Take a look at this. This is getting to know the test descriptions a little bit. The English, math, reading, science, and we'll be doing the writing. So those are all the areas. Look at the number of questions, look at the time that you have in order to take it. This is a different test than any test you've taken before. It's harder and it's timed. Notice English, 75 questions in 45 minutes. You have to be moving in order to get through the English section. Math, 60 with 60. The first couple might be very easy and you might get them done in 30 seconds or maybe 45, but towards the end when they get really hard, you might be spending 2-3 minutes on it. And look how much time it takes. So there's many people who won't get all of the questions answered and they'll be guessing at the very end. Reading science, and then like I said, you'll have 40 minutes to write your essay for the writing portion. All right, back up here, like I said before, sample test questions. You can go ahead and pick on something like science. And science, if you scroll down, will show you passage 1, passage 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if you pick a passage, it actually has here directions, and then that you're not permitted to use a calculator on this test, and then it gives you a passage. Some of the science questions actually look more like English questions. They give you passages that you have to read and you have to make sense of, but then they also throw in tables or maybe graphs or how things change. So those are the type of questions that you're going to have to be looking at for science and then answering on the right hand side over here. Remember all that work you did in 9th grade and they did a lot of graph analysis? Well, it might come in handy now. So the science portion is difficult, and some of those sections or passages take a long time, and you have to be quick about it. Other ones like the English, they'll give you a passage with a number, and then in that number you're going to either have to change it or no change, and you'll talk a little bit about how you can improve that section. So you can look at these. It's good to take a look at them, but I would suggest if you're going to do any of the sections and answer questions to set a little timer just to show you how much time it takes for each question and how fast that time goes. So with the ACT, there's also an official site for the ASVAB. So those of you taking the military/careers test instead, they still have sample questions. They still have information on their website that you can find. There's an applicant section, and then you can see what to expect when taking it, understanding the scores and what they mean when they come out. But down here, sample questions, they actually have similar sections where you can click on it and you can get different test questions and try a few, and then they'll tell you if you're right or wrong. Notice most of them are similar in the ACT. Word knowledge and paragraph comprehension is in the English and reading section. You have general science, you have math up there, but then you also have things like auto and shop and electronics and mechanical comprehension. So that's why it's a little bit different. It's more hands-on with the technical side, and that's what they want to know is what else can you do. So there are some resources here for the ASVAB that you can take a look at and also just kind of go over the website a little bit. The third resource that I want to make sure that you're aware of that you're going to need actually when we start looking at taking some of those test prep sections in April is a website that was put together by a few teachers here this last summer. They spent a little bit extra time creating an ACT test prep website. So it's under high school, it's under ACT, I believe you can get to it. You click on it and there's quite a bit of stuff that you can take a look at. There's online practice, so there's a practice test that if you want to work through, you can go ahead and work through it and see what you can come up with. There's the math section. Now, 60 minutes, 60 questions, and you can see that here's an old math test from one of the ACT tests. But then there's also all these problems here. So one of the things that they've done is they want to make sure that you can understand why you got a question right or wrong if you're doing this sample practice test. So as we do those test prep sessions coming up in April, we go through the math and the science and the reading, or English. Go to this site and you can actually go over the problems. So if you had one wrong or right, you can see why you had them right or wrong. They work through all the problems and they go over the answers, and so you can better understand. Calculator videos, there's a few videos on which calculator and how to use it. Science, this is where you can go and get the passage 1 explanations, 2, 3, and 4. I believe those are corresponding to the test that you're going to take in April. I believe that's April 10th. So you can go ahead and take a look at the answers and explanations for those. And then the English, the 40 ACT sample questions that we put together that you'll work on in class they're right there. Then there's also test prep videos, just things that are hints and tips and concepts and things that you can go ahead and take a look at that we just pulled aside um, for more help. So this, we're always going to change this. We're always going to add to it. If there's something out there that you think that needs to be added to this, you can talk to Mrs. Orvik or myself, and we can try to get it on here for you. So with that, we will be taking the ACT and ASVAB on April 19th, and we'll be taking the MCA math test on March 13th. And like I said, there are ACT resources, there are ASVAB resources, and there's also our test prep Moodle resource that you can use. Thank you.